The 4th of July is one of the most important holidays in America, where people get together to participate in parades, enjoy a picnic with friends, or watch elaborate firework displays. It is also an important weekend where families finally have time to reunite with their loved ones, play games, and enjoy a nice barbecue in the beautiful summer weather. The same, however, could not be said for Mark Dribin's family, who wondered why he didn't show up that 4th of July weekend in 1999, and has never been seen since. So what happened to Mark Dribin 23 years ago? Decades later, a shocking turn of events may finally bring closure to a grieving family. Welcome back to Mysterious 7, where we cover under-the-radar, high-profile, solved and unsolved true crime cases across the country. My name is Matt. Thank you for joining me today. Today we will be discussing the baffling case of Mark Dribin, whose disappearance puzzled authorities for close to 2 decades. So make sure you find yourself a warm and comfortable place before we look into this truly puzzling mystery. Portland, Oregon is the largest city in the state and serves as a regional hub for the Pacific Northwest. As of 2020, Portland is ranked the 25th most populated city with a population of 650,000 people. One might say that Portland is an ideal place for hipsters. Renowned for its progressiveness and emphasis on self-expression, Portland is home to many creative individuals, as well as being an ideal location for small businesses. It is known for its eco-friendliness and an abundance of microbreweries and coffee houses. That is why I can't imagine the fear that plagued the Dribin family when their beloved son and brother, Mark Dribin, failed to join his family to celebrate the holiday back in the summer of 1999. With no communication and his absence from work, Mark's family and friends grew increasingly concerned about his whereabouts. It was soon concluded that Mark Dribin was last seen on July 3rd, having a drink at a local bar called the Eagle Tavern. A 42-year-old employee at the Portland International Airport, Mark Dribin was described as a hardworking and reliable man. He was employed as a cargo worker with United Airlines at the time of his disappearance. Not much is known about his early life, but Mark was very close to his brother and his father. His absence that 4th of July weekend was extremely concerning for his family and friends, as it went against his character. He was always reliable and punctual, so this behavior seemed very out of place. He would not have missed a family gathering without informing at least one person. After not hearing back from Mark the entire weekend, his family, who grew increasingly alarmed, urged the authorities to conduct a welfare check at his residence. Much to everyone's horror, the authorities arrived at Mark Dribin's house to make a chilling discovery. Mark Dribin was nowhere to be found, and there was substantial forensic evidence to suggest that he had fallen prey to a violent crime. Blood spatter covered the walls and the floors, leaving a harrowing image in the minds of those who made this discovery. There were also indications that someone had made an effort to clean up. This gruesome discovery only increased the concern of his family and friends, who now believed he had experienced an insufferable crime. But this wasn't the end of it. Investigators made another unsettling discovery. His car was found abandoned near Southeast 43rd Avenue and Division Street in Portland. This latest finding did little to help calm the family and friends of Mark Dribin. From what was discovered, the police theorized that whoever had hurt Mark in his home stole the car from his house and parked it on the street, where it was subsequently discovered by investigators. Although Dribin was declared missing on the 6th of July 1999, he had actually called in absent from work 4 days earlier. He never did specify the exact reason why. He merely cited a personal emergency. The reason why Mark Dribin missed work has never actually been determined. The fact that his body never been found leaves little to be desired. He was officially declared dead in 2002, 3 years after his disappearance. Despite his family's pursuit of the answers, the case went cold for 20 years. There have been many theories surrounding Mark Dribin's disappearance. He was a member of the LGBTQ community and was known to frequent many gay bars in Portland. He was also last seen at Eagle Tavern, a popular gay bar in downtown PDX. This led the police to speculate that it may have been an encounter gone wrong, or a relationship issue with an unknown partner that may have turned violent. All of these ideas ultimately led to a dead end, no pun intended. While many theories floated around, none were enough to answer the question, where was Mark? In 2019, 20 whole years after Mark Dribin's disappearance, DNA from cold cases was being retested. Bode Technology, a private genealogy firm, was employed to run and test the DNA. The growth in genetic testing and ancestry mapping has grown significantly, and the technology is far superior to what it was just 1 decade earlier. The DNA samples that were found in both Mark's car and home were being tested once again and run through existing databases to see if there was a match. The developments in science and technology are truly fascinating. With the intention of tracing family history, the resources we have available today have been able to answer more than who we are and where we come from. They have also aided in solving many cold case crimes, such as the case of the Golden State Killer. While nothing stood out instantly, the DNA was submitted for ancestral mapping. According to court records, the test hit on a potential match. One of 3 brothers from a Portland family was likely to be the suspect. One brother was ruled out immediately, and it was between the remaining 2 brothers, Jesse and Christopher Loverain. Genealogy and family tracing has helped authorities solve a number of crimes in this last decade, and it proved to be fruitful once again. There was a conclusive match, with the results pointing to one of the brothers, a 53-year-old man working as a metal fabricator in southeast Portland. The man was Christopher Loverain. He agreed to meet with the investigators to ease them of their suspicions against him. Christopher met up with the authorities at a local bar called the Horse Brass Pub, where he denied having anything to do with Mark Dribin's disappearance. It is interesting to note that authorities agreed on a meeting place so casual, perhaps in an effort to make him more comfortable. Christopher Loverain denied any involvement with Mark Dribin. He, however, was open about his criminal lifestyle, admitting to having been heavily involved in drugs, such as methamphetamine, as well as a series of car robberies throughout the 90s. While being open about his other crimes, he was adamant that he had no involvement with Mark or anything to do with his disappearance. Although he claimed he was not involved, Christopher Loverain was reluctant to give the investigators a DNA sample that would be able to clear his name. This was obviously a red flag. Relentlessly pursuing justice, several undercover officers at the bar were able to collect the glass that he drank from, and were able to collect enough DNA material to run another test. It was quick thinking on the part of these officers, as they could finally get an answer. The results revealed a match. It was Christopher Loverain's DNA that had been found in Mark Dribin's home and car. The police had finally received a conclusive match and a suspect for a 20-year-old cold case. While this confirmed that Loverain had been in both Mark Dribin's car and home, his disappearance remained a mystery. Where was Mark Dribin, and did Christopher Loverain have anything to do with him going missing? On the 30th of April in 2020, during the height of the COVID pandemic, the Multnomah County Grand Jury indicted Christopher Loverain for the murder of Mark Dribin, and an arrest warrant was issued. Christopher Loverain was apprehended and brought in by authorities 4 days after it was issued. Law enforcement conducted a search warrant on Lovraine's residence to find 6 firearms, including 2 9mm caliber pistols, one .40 caliber pistol, a .357 caliber revolver, and 2 .22 caliber rifles. Christopher Lovraine was charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder and 1 count of abuse of a corpse. He was also charged with 6 counts of being in possession of a firearm. It was found that at the time of Mark's disappearance, Christopher happened to live just 1 block away from where Mark Dribin's abandoned car had been found in the lot. While reading many cases, it's not hard to empathize with a person and to put yourself in their shoes. I often think about the fact that a victim is someone's brother, someone's friend. Mark Dribin's family must have suffered immensely for the 20 years that their son's case remained unsolved. But now they were one step closer to finding out the truth about their son's disappearance. It was later uncovered by the cold case investigators that while cleaning Mark's house prior to it being sold, the original case file reported that Dribin's father had stumbled upon a handwritten note with the contact information of Christopher Lovraine. What appeared to be an insignificant detail at that time would have been able to lead authorities straight to the killer. To have discovered this years later must have been incredibly difficult to swallow. Just imagine the frustration that the family would have experienced. Shortly after Christopher Lovraine's arrest, he began to frequently call his brother Jesse. These suspicious jailhouse calls ultimately led the police to investigate a shed on his property. Upon opening the shed, the investigators made a horrific discovery of a container with the remnants of a dismembered body. The decomposing remains belonged to Kenneth Griffin, a man who was last seen just 2 months before Christopher Lovraine was apprehended by the authorities. An autopsy concluded that Griffin had suffered fatal wounds to the head. Lovraine pleaded not guilty in Multnomah County Court to all of the charges against him. While in court, Lovraine testified before the grand jury that he had met the victim, Kenneth Griffin, at the 82nd Street Tavern and had taken him back home to meet his dogs. They smoked marijuana and ordered a pizza. He testified that he had given Griffin his credit card to pay for the food, but Griffin failed to return his card. That's when things took a turn for the worst. They got into an argument that escalated and soon turned very violent, leading Lovraine to shoot Kenneth Griffin. He shot him several times in the neck and face with a crossbow and ultimately used an axe to kill him. He left the body decomposing in his house for 3 days before returning to dismember the corpse and stow the body parts in boxes in the shed. While Mark Dribin's body has not been found to this day, the DNA evidence places Christopher Lovraine at the scene where Mark was likely taken. It is also unsettling to note that Christopher Lovraine allegedly murdered and dismembered the body of Kenneth Griffin shortly before being identified as a suspect in the disappearance of Mark Dribin. The decomposing body of Kenneth Griffin in Lovraine's shed only makes him appear more guilty. There are many signs that led investigators to believe that Lovraine had additional victims from the period of 1999 to 2020, although none had been identified. The families of Mark Dribin and Kenneth Griffin have requested privacy from the media and the public. The District Attorney's Office of Multnomah County has asked the media to refrain from contacting the family as they grieve through the discoveries that have been made. While charges have been brought against him, Christopher Lovraine remains innocent until proven guilty. The case is set for trial in October of 2022. Lovraine's lawyer Ryan Scott declined to comment on the case as investigations are still ongoing. Both the Portland Police Bureau and the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office have approached the public to help determine if there are additional homicide victims that could be tied to Christopher Lovraine. Based on the information gathered, the Portland Police Bureau's cold case investigators would like to speak to anyone with information regarding missing persons who may have been living near or under the Interstate 205 bridge in southeast Portland between May 2019 and May 2020. If you or anyone you know has information or has had contact with Loverain, please contact the Portland Police Bureau's Cold Case Homicide Detail. As the case will be set for trial in October of this year, we may finally have an answer as to why Christopher Loverain's DNA was found in Mark Dribin's home and car. While his body has not been found to date, we can only hope that this information will surface during the course of the trial. I pray that the family of Mark Dribin and Kenneth Griffin find peace. Let us hope that the question of Mark's disappearance will be answered. So, what do you think happened to Dribin? Comment below and let us know. And if you enjoy true crime, please like our video and subscribe to stay updated about our latest videos. If you like this video, you may find the case of Brittanee Drexel equally mind-boggling. Click to watch the disappearance of a teenage girl on spring break. And stay tuned for more.